Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died. When
was that a joke?
That?
I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's the man.
When she stakes her claim, the real question isn't whether Michelle Obama is genuinely untouchable. It's how two seemingly disparate figures, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, managed to absolutely dismantle her carefully constructed public image without even breaking a sweat. One moment she's universally adored, the nation's beloved book club queen, and the next she's ducking Rogan's raw, unfiltered commentary and Gutfeld's precisely aimed, savage one-liners. It felt less like a political debate and more like a high-stakes rhetorical dodgeball game being played out in the White House gym. They didn't just find a few chinks in her armor, they tore the entire narrative to shreds, then cynically gift-wrapped the pieces in a bow of biting sarcasm. What exactly did they uncover that prompted Michelle to go radio silent? Believe me, this one is far messier than any school lunch program backlash she's ever faced.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up when she cleans it.
I mean, ultimately, it's a spectacle of the ultra-rich dissecting the ultra-rich. Michelle Obama, with a straight face, tried to convince an entire generation that school lunches consisting of sad, wilted spinach and bland quinoa mush were some form of culinary revolution. We're talking about an alleged uprising led by soggy kale and mysterious lentils, served with a side of forced enthusiasm. That wasn't a health plan. It was, quite frankly, a war crime perpetrated against innocent taste buds. And yet, there she was, strutting out with her salad tongs, acting as if she were storming Normandy, bravely armed with a handful of chickpeas and a dream. The sheer audacity of it all was baffling to anyone who ever had to eat that food.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
Now into this carefully crafted narrative stride Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld. This is the unlikely duo that absolutely nobody ordered, yet somehow they became the only pairing unafraid to boldly voice what everyone else was merely whispering behind their organic green smoothies. They saw through the veneer. Michelle Obama's entire brand, they argued, is a meticulously curated blend of inspirational Pinterest slogans, an almost performative yoga pose, a strong undercurrent of hypocrisy, and what essentially amounts to the world's longest, most drawn-out TED Talk masquerading as a lasting legacy. We've been living with the Obama legacy for well over half a decade, so perhaps it's time we all just took a collective deep breath and calmly assessed the reality of the situation.
So, President dies, everyone in the world shows up, and she doesn't break her vacation? It's not like she doesn't have access to a jet. Something is going on. Let's speculate.
Yes, please.
It's either surgery.
Oh.
That was my least controversial thing.
Depends what kind of surgery.
She will not sit close to the dictator. And by that, I don't mean Hillary, I mean Donald Trump. Or there's trouble in paradise between Barack and Michelle. I've heard things. I'm not going to substantiate that by repeating these rumors on national TV like I just did. But I'm just saying it's very odd that she's not there.
Yeah, we should ask.
It's actually pretty hilarious how she put that, isn't it? Okay, let's be brutally honest. We all know it's true, so let's get one crucial thing crystal clear right from the start. This isn't about some petty hatred for a former first lady. Not at all. This is fundamentally about boldly calling out the weaponized sanctimony of a woman who, with astounding sleight of hand, somehow managed to elevate the simple act of drinking water into a moral commandment and a defining personality trait. You'd genuinely think she personally engineered and invented H2O itself, patenting hydration for the masses. All the while, the rest of us were simply trying to prevent our kids from trading their pre-portioned celery sticks for actual edible food on the burgeoning black market of the school cafeteria, where snacks were currency.
You know Michelle is a tramp.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A
transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Greg Gutfeld, a man never one to pass up a good political buffet, practically choked on his own laughter as he gleefully recounted the glorious irony of Michelle's relentless crusade for national health. This was the same woman whose own lavish parties, he pointed out, often resembled a Whole Foods delivery truck spontaneously exploding all over a White House plate. Organic? Yes, undoubtedly. Edible? Well, that was always a much more debatable point. There's only so much you can dress up a bland, pureed beet hummus before anyone is compelled to call the authorities on culinary grounds. The hypocrisy, he observed, was a dish best served cold, and often without much flavor.
Michelle Obama has openly admitted that she and Barack sleep in separate bedrooms. Here's how it works. She sleeps downstairs, and he likes men.
Then, of course, there's Joe Rogan, a man who didn't just build a podcast empire. He constructed it brick by punching sacred cows squarely in the udder. Naturally, Michelle's incredibly carefully curated image made her the shining golden calf of smug progressivism, practically begging to be challenged. This is a woman who flexes her biceps with the intensity of someone auditioning for a Marvel superhero movie, and then proceeds to lecture ordinary people on the inherent dangers of indulging in any form of joy. In her utopian vision, a simple slice of pizza instantly becomes a felony. Rogan couldn't help but wonder aloud, what exactly is the calorie count on self-righteousness anyway? And honestly, let's not even attempt to avoid the topic of her multi-million-dollar Netflix deals. Wait, no, scratch that. Let's absolutely dive right in. Nothing quite screams, I am just like you, the common person, like signing multi-million-dollar production deals with the subtle grace of a wrecking ball wrapped in a mountain of cash. Her documentary, if you've had the chance to endure it, is essentially a spiritual journey through her own enormous ego, generously sprinkled with endless slow-motion shots of her walking dramatically through adoring crowds, as if she were a modern-day Moses parting a sea of adoring peasants. Greg Gutfeld, ever the snarky goblin of late night, had absolutely no trouble whatsoever poking gaping holes in Michelle's soft-focused aspirational facade. Every time she makes a public appearance now, it feels less about advancing a genuine cause and overwhelmingly more about the expertly applied lighting and the perfectly angled camera shots. Her speeches are utterly drenched in motivational sludge, feeling like a forced Tony Robbins seminar inexplicably held in a Whole Foods parking lot. Inspirational? Sure, in a superficial, generic way. Useful? Not unless your grand plan for solving life's intricate problems involves monogrammed stationery and an overpriced Fitbit.
Just good to see everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica.
And we haven't even begun to mention the infamous saccharin slogan, when they go low, we go high. That particular line might just be the single most passive-aggressive declaration in the entire annals of political history. Its true translation in plain English is unequivocally this: we are inherently superior to you, and here's a mass-produced bumper sticker to unequivocally prove it. Michelle Obama has practically copyrighted the very concept of moral superiority, then proceeded to sell it in a glossy hardcover edition, and is now actively pitching the accompanying audiobook in no less than 5 different languages globally. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan was over there, visibly raising his eyebrows as if they were performing complex weightlifting exercises at the gym. He's always been deeply suspicious of Michelle's seemingly magical transformation from dignified first lady to ubiquitous self-help guru, and then inexplicably to an unchallenged cultural icon, all without ever meaningfully answering any real questions about the process. For instance, how exactly did we transition so smoothly from earnest lettuce campaigns to profound philosophical essays on how to effectively find our voice? Can someone please provide GPS directions for that particular journey, or do we simply follow the faint, lingering scent of overpriced artisanal candles? Michelle's entire public image is so painstakingly, meticulously manufactured that it makes Barbie's carefully crafted persona look like a gritty, unflinching documentary. The practiced yoga poses, the ever-present soft-focused backlighting, the perfectly rehearsed, spontaneous laughs. It's like observing a living, breathing, inspirational poster in action. Somewhere between between the platitudes of live, laugh, love, and the stern command to eat more kale, there she is, perpetually smiling with the quiet, understated menace of someone who definitely, absolutely judges your current grocery cart contents.
Michelle thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To make these choices clear to the men that we love, our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
I couldn't breathe. Ah, Big Mike, good Mike. Greg Gutfeld truly had an absolute field day dissecting Michelle's striking transformation from dignified first lady into the global brand ambassador of utterly empty platitudes. He practically needed a neck brace from the sheer exhaustion of shaking his head at her LinkedIn-level advice on empowerment. Platitudes like, believe in yourself. Thanks, Michelle, that should definitely cover the rent this month. What's next on the agenda? Perhaps manifest your credit score and magically make your debt disappear. And let's talk wardrobe. Michelle Obama's fashion choices have been relentlessly praised as if they were groundbreaking diplomatic achievements of historical significance. Breaking news, she once wore a belt. CNN of course lost its collective mind. Entire op-eds, stretching for hundreds of words, were solemnly written about a simple cardigan. A cardigan, for crying out loud. You'd be forgiven for thinking she was personally stitching together intricate peace treaties in the hallowed Lincoln bedroom. Greg Gutfeld, with characteristic bluntness, asked the obvious biting question. Since when did a trip to Banana Republic become a profound political statement? Then there's her memoir, a book so thoroughly stuffed with journeys and truths that it could easily double as a yoga mat for the overly earnest. Every single page reads less like a personal history and more like a motivational speech relentlessly dipped in vague trauma and punctuated by aspirational Instagram captions. It's significantly less an autobiography and more a meticulously curated lifestyle blog, simply bound with a hardcover spine. Rogan reportedly read it and, legend has it, had to immediately go outside, physically touch grass, and then rewatch the classic film Roadhouse multiple times just to feel like a man again.
Someone put on Instagram, I believe, that Tim Dillon's video where he was saying that Michelle Obama should run for president. If she won, she could pull her cock out and China would just give up. I was fucking wheezing.
But you know what Michelle's most truly impressive feat is? It's her uncanny ability to consistently play the underdog while simultaneously residing in literal palaces. She speaks with earnest conviction about the struggles of everyday life, all from the comfort of mansions boasting 6-car garages. It's genuinely akin to Marie Antoinette giving a serious TED Talk on the virtues of minimalism. Gutfeld summed it up best with his characteristic wit. Her idea of genuine adversity is probably just running out of organic quinoa at Whole Foods. And let's not forget how Michelle deliberately positioned herself as the ultimately relatable first lady, because nothing screams down to earth quite like custom designed chandeliers, meticulously curated guest lists, and an elite team of bodyguards meticulously trained by actual Navy SEALs. She insists she's just a mom, but that particular mom also happens to employ a dedicated stylist team, a personal chef catering to her every culinary whim, and a media consultant specifically for her Instagram captions. Rogan pointed out that Michelle's public persona is remarkably like one long, interminable episode of The View, but without even the decency of commercial breaks to punctuate the relentless self-congratulation. Every single sentence she utters is meticulously wrapped in soft moralism and then baked until it's perfectly beige. It's political tofu, bland, undeniably preachy, and somehow absolutely everywhere you look. And then there's her media coverage. This woman could sneeze, and it would immediately be labeled a defiant act of strength in the face of patriarchal pollen. Gutfeld openly mocked the press for treating Michelle like some impossible hybrid of Gandhi and Beyonce, a saintly pop star. The glowing coverage is so relentlessly positive, it's actually suspicious. What exactly is she hiding? A car? Rogan, with a wry laugh, highlighted the irony that Michelle wants to tell America how to be healthy, all while the rest of us are still psychologically recovering from the collective trauma of school lunch apple slices that tasted exactly like packing foam. You simply cannot traumatize an entire generation of children with lentil loaf and then smoothly pivot to becoming a cultural messiah. That, my friends, is culinary gaslighting of the highest order.
So, Kat, they know that they're having a hard time with men.
Right.
Doesn't seem like this is the right strategy.
No.
She basically says that they're hurting women by voting for Trump.
But I think they don't understand that where it comes from in the first place is that people are sick of being told how bad they are and talked down to, and you know, the condescension doesn't work. None of what they're doing really works. I mean, the Walls AOC live stream of them playing Madden together was supposed to be to get like dudes who like football on their side, and they did it during football.
And let's be absolutely honest here, Michelle Obama's single greatest skill is her masterful ability to give the profound illusion of doing everything while simultaneously saying absolutely nothing of substance. Every single speech she delivers is a carefully constructed word salad with just enough strategically placed croutons of vague meaning to convince the adoring crowd that they are truly consuming something substantial and nourishing. Meanwhile, Rogan was left scratching his head, genuinely wondering if the real, meaningful meal was actually served backstage, probably by someone named Skylar wearing a conspicuously gluten-free apron. Gutfeld took particular delight in roasting the pervasive myth of Michelle's supposed unifying force, as if someone who divides public opinion harder than the debate over pineapple on pizza is somehow the secret sauce to national harmony. Her brand is less about genuine unity and overwhelmingly more about a very selective enlightenment. She functions as a lighthouse that only shines its illuminating beam for those who already enthusiastically agree with her worldview and don't even dare try to bring up her fitness goals. This woman, it seems, did more to glorify the simple act of lunges than the actual inventor of stairs ever did. Somehow, even exercise became a deeply political act. If you didn't enthusiastically want to perform planks in your living room while she intensely glared from your television screen, you were automatically deemed a complicit part of the national obesity crisis. Gutfeld, with a twinkle in his eye, joked that somewhere a poor donut cried itself to sleep that night. So Rogan simply couldn't resist pointing out that Michelle Obama's entire persona is so aggressively, relentlessly inspirational, it's frankly exhausting. She's like the human embodiment of being forcibly enrolled in a book club you never, ever signed up for. Every single message she delivers is presented as an inescapable, teachable moment, even if all you genuinely desired was a simple cheeseburger and some peace and quiet. Just eat.
Rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
And what about her podcast? Yes, she has a podcast, because of course she does. It's basically an extended therapy session designed specifically for people who have, quite literally, never once been told the word no in their entire lives. Every single episode is a warm, comforting bath of pseudo-wisdom, where the only consistent takeaway is that Michelle is, yet again, somehow more emotionally and spiritually evolved than the entire rest of us. Rogan, after playing various clips, swore he could physically hear himself aging from the sheer secondhand condescension emanating from his speakers. Gutfeld, not to be outdone, mercilessly mocked the grand plans for the Michelle Obama Library, as if she were some impossible hybrid cross between Mother Teresa and Oprah Winfrey, only with significantly better arm tone. The only books it will likely contain are her own memoirs, meticulously stacked next to a plethora of affirmation stones and an overwhelming aroma of essential oils. The very entrance will probably require a mandatory detox smoothie and irrefutable proof of your emotional vulnerability. Michelle Obama has absolutely mastered the intricate art of being everywhere without ever truly being anywhere of substance. Her presence is ambient. You don't consciously choose it, rather it chooses you and subtly permeates your space. She's the spiritual equivalent of background jazz music playing at a farmer's market. Soothing, vaguely familiar, and subtly manipulative. Rogan quipped that if Michelle ever released a signature perfume, it would undoubtedly smell like moral superiority and steamed broccoli, perhaps with just a faint, almost imperceptible hint of filtered authenticity. Gutfeld added with a smirk that it would definitely come in a bottle shaped like a recycled globe and would only be available for purchase to people who rigorously followed her 12-week wellness challenge challenge, essentially a becoming experience but with significantly more burpees. And perhaps the final, most absurd layer to this entire narrative, the persistent rumors, the hushed whispers, the utterly absurd claims emanating from the darkest corners of conspiracy caves, suggesting that Michelle is meticulously planning a future political run. Because after all, when you've thoroughly lectured America on everything from school lunches to living your personal truth, what logically comes next? Why, running the entire country, apparently. Gutfeld, upon hearing this, laughed so hard he nearly toppled off his chair, because truly, nothing screams political outsider quite like 16 years spent occupying the most powerful rooms in the entire world.
Even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind, Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally old enough to vote.
That's hilarious. So what have we ultimately learned from this whole spectacle? Michelle Obama stands revealed as the undisputed queen of curated struggle, the empress of empowering buzzwords, and the first lady of meticulously filtered authenticity. And thanks to the relentless, insightful work of Rogan and Gutfeld, that once impenetrable veneer has been completely peeled back, revealing not some monstrous figure, not a criminal mastermind, but rather a hyper-meticulous brand manager brilliantly disguised as a motivational guru. The kind who will earnestly scold you for not loving spinach with enough passionate intensity. And if all else fails to land with the public, she'll probably just release yet another new book, perhaps titled Still Becoming: The Journey to Journeying, featuring a whopping 300 pages of sunrise metaphors and bland salad anecdotes. Bonus content would undoubtedly include an inspirational playlist and a low-calorie salad dressing recipe that tastes distinctly of regret. Now remember folks, when they go low, she goes high, but rest assured she'll charge you a cool $29.99 for the privilege of experiencing that altitude. Michelle Obama didn't just rebrand herself, she shrewdly franchised her entire persona. She became the Oprah of broccoli, the Dalai Lama of dumbbells, the spiritual guru of doing the work. And if that work primarily consists of meticulously filtering selfies and casually name-dropping the word resilience, then so be it. Every single public appearance is a masterclass in performance, carefully sculpted and toned, much like those arms the media simply cannot stop drooling over. And yet, the blatant contradictions never seem to end. She earnestly preaches simplicity while dining like a Michelin Guide reviewer, champions the virtue of humility while seemingly bathing in designer praise, and calls for national unity while simultaneously building her entire brand on carefully curated division. Rogan accurately pointed out how Michelle manages to sound profoundly deep while saying next to nothing of actual substance, like a TED Talk specifically about clouds. Gutfeld wasn't far behind, slamming the suffocating echo chamber effect that faithfully follows her around like an obedient poodle. It's never genuine critique, it's unwavering worship. It's not honest commentary, it's immediate canonization. She has, without a doubt, become a one-woman industry of sugar-coated smugness, where every anecdote is meticulously polished, every perceived struggle is conveniently relatable, and every single photo shoot is precisely timed to catch the perfect golden hour of moral superiority. If branding were an Olympic sport, Michelle would already have 5 gold medals, a Netflix documentary about her journey to winning them, and an entire line of vegan protein bars cleverly called Authenticity Bites. And still somehow, inexplicably, nobody is truly allowed to ask, what exactly are we applauding for?